W3JOE. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for another episode of Cup of Joe with W3JOE. That's Web3 Job Ops and Events, your hub, headquarters, and home base for Web3 talent and recruitment. They power these spaces, which we do every Wednesday, every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, where we sit down, invite amazing people like our honorable guest of the day, Miss Banana Cultist, over here to sit down with us for about 30-40 minutes and talk about how to get your dream job in Web3 over a cup of coffee. We're excited to get into today's conversation. I'd love to say hello to our guest, Miss Banana. Banana, thank you so much for taking the time. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday.
Hello, Gambler. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a long time since we've had any form of conversation together with each other. So, very excited to be here. I've known about, What for a while now. Obviously I've been lurking your posts, been lurking on the Telegram. I've been sharing the opportunities to friends and colleagues who would want to try to transfer their skills into Web3, right? So very excited to be here, very excited to share what I know, what we've been through. We've known each other for years. We are excited to actually, share what is up. It's not just, talk about the good stuff, but what really we had to go through to get to the point where we are now. So thank you so much, Gambler. I hope you're good.
Absolutely.
I hope you're
No,
having your
yeah.
coffee.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm good. I'm always better when I get to share a stage with you. It's been far too long since we've been able to share a stage together, but I do remember, I think that was the first time we were able to connect with each other. We actually were contacted by the same project to host Twitter Spaces. So full circle, but I know you do all that and
No.
more.
Let me cut you there. It
Yeah.
wasn't that. It was way before that.
Okay.
Can I tell them your real name?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. I'm so doxxed. It's crazy. Go ahead.
Isaiah, right? We've known each other since I think since V Friends was like very much hype. V Friends, Invisible Friends. I've met you through people whom I usually would not meet if I were not in Web3. So these are people who had a lot of Ethereum to spend or to like splurge, right? And I've met you through that, and I think we had a conversation about entrepreneurship. And I was so amazed because you were young that time. You were in your early 20s at that time when I met you on Spaces. I was like, so what do you do? You have a lot of money? Why? How? And you were like, I'm sorry, I'm reminiscing so much, but you were like, you know what? I could hook you up. I could help you out. You sound well. And I think that left a really good impression on me. That's why I kept, even though I got banned, I mean, my first account was banned, it left a real good impression on me that I kept on connecting, kept on, having, kept on even, putting you on the spotlight whenever I can, whenever there's opportunities. And I think that's first impressions are very important, right? So yeah.
First impressions
Sorry
are
about
so
that.
important. Wow, we go back to be friends? Oh my gosh, how did I not know this already? That's crazy. That's some of the most incredible people I know and still know to this day from this space are from that community. I mean, and you and me, I know we're both champions of community and we understand how valuable that is, not just in this space, but so far beyond that space. But yeah, that VFriends world, I will never ever turn my back on those individuals and that team because it really was a big contributor in me even getting started working in the space. I mean, if we want to take it full circle, the first Twitter spaces I ever hosted, back when it was still Twitter, before it was X, since we're reminiscing, was actually a Spanish friendly Twitter spaces because I learned that the V Friends Discord was English only, and that didn't feel very VFriends or even Web3 to me. And now I love to see that years later we're seeing a lot more teams. We actually had Alan Baez, who's a huge champion of the Latin American and just global community in general, come on last week, talk about how so many teams are stepping up to increase that access and expand this Web3 culture and education and opportunity beyond just the States or even just beyond English speaking. So before I go too far down the rabbit hole, Banana, you are a legend. It means the world that every single time I reach out to you, I know that I'm going to get a reply, and I know you know that it's mutual. So in your corner, and I'm really excited to get into this conversation because you are one of those people that's everywhere, and you are one of those people that does not just talk the talk, you walk the walk. And every single team that's had the opportunity to work with you would absolutely attest to that. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Banana, I know you're with Core DAO now, which I'm a huge fan of those fellas over there. We actually had Dylan on this show. He was like one of our first few guests. We also had Deedle. Shout out Deedle, who is a legend, came up on the show as well. So big fans of our friends over at Core DAO. Can you tell us a little bit in your own words about who you are, what you do, and how you got started doing it?
All right. So first off, my name is Vanessa, also known as Vanessa on the Discord servers. I started working in Web3 because I got bored. I needed friends. It was the pandemic. So everybody needed friends, and it was the easiest way for me to make connections because I only need to be online, right? And what I do now is I host spaces or events or AMAs, and sometimes I also represent projects, communities, platforms, whatever that is. I will just pay me money. Just I will represent you to different interviews. Cause here's what I realized over the years of having conversations and just being curious in Web3, right? I saw that there are so many brilliant, leaders, right? There are so many brilliant leaders in Web3, but the problem is there's this gap with communication. So out of frustration, it was really out of frustration. I volunteered to host, it was a local space, but of course it was in English. I volunteered to host, a fireside chat between, what do you call this? Between founders and communities. And that's how I realized that there's so much disconnect. Web3 founders are so brilliant. They're very technical. They're probably one of the most innovative minds, um, but they are not understood by the masses. It's really difficult to go through the jargon uh, and really explain all of these technical words into normie words. Plus, it also makes the jargon kind of, how do you go? It lacks that trust of the community when you always speak about these technical terms and not really addressing, or they feel like they're not really being addressed, with, the utilization of whatever you're doing or whatever you're building. So that's how I started hosting in Web3. I would always joke that I know it's been a long time too, Villa and Louis. So I always joke that like what I do is basically building cults in Web3, but not in a scary sense, right? What I really do is more of creating identity, loyalty, a shared belief, within the Web3 space, because people think that tokenomics alone drives success, but honestly, tokens without believers are just numbers. So a real community is really what makes people stay through those dips, those hype cycles, those rugs, right? Even though there are projects that rugs, some of them still have these core communities. So that's what I do. I try to retain your community into one single, cult. Banana cult.
Well said. Well said. No, I appreciate that take, and I pinned up a few of your tweets up top. But the first one is TVL isn't just a dollar value; it's the measure of community, trust, and security, which touches on exactly what you just said. Numbers or tokens, TVLs, without community are just numbers, right? And you also, us listening and us here right now understand how easily numbers can be manipulated. I think it's a lot harder to manipulate and fake true community, real comments, even in an age of AI where there's bots and there's accounts. If anything, I think we're actually being shown, and it's evidence, all of these fake bots and fake numbers of like how hard it is to actually fake that real community and what it looks like when you have people actually showing up to events IRL, connecting, showing up to spaces, telling their friends about this community. And I actually love your point as well about you have projects that quote unquote rug, founders are gone, and the community is still there and the community is still real, right? And that's a true testament to the fact that community is something separate and unique and absolutely crucial in the big picture, even though we have this hyperfixation of numbers. And I'll say even the word community has kind of gotten diluted so much over the years because it's just become this buzzword that people throw around. Banana, what do you think it is about you that made you stick out to these founders and allowed them to trust you to represent their brand?
That's really tough. I feel like if I answer that question, I'm going to lift myself up into like, oh, okay. I feel like so I'd be so arrogant telling this to people, but honestly, I feel like people find me likable enough, and non-threatening, or maybe they like the threats. I don't know. Some people have their quirks, dominatrix, quirks. So maybe they like it, but I feel like it's really the likability. I try to, as much as possible, I am an introvert, so as much as possible, I try to learn people's skills, and it's not just, it's just that I cannot do that, IRL because I rarely go out. So I try to learn people's skills, through online. And I already am friendly. Like, I hate having a lot of crowd around me, but I love helping people. So it's like, I gotta work through that, man. But it's really, it's one of my natural abilities. My natural, I guess, God-given skills is that I have this voice. I have a voice that is friendly enough, soothing enough to talk to people. I try not to take, things very seriously. And if there's a conversation that really needs that tough talk or whatever kind of talk that is, I try to adjust. I try to adapt to that. However, I feel like, many people already have these skills, but the problem is, some of us are, I would say, and I'm sorry about this, I would say that some of us are a bit too desperate to get into that position, right? And that actually, I feel that that actually converts, or that transfers whenever you talk to people. If you are too desperate for a certain position, too desperate for money, too desperate for attention or whatever that is, that actually translates on text, on your tone, on, on the way you, use your words. And, I try, as much as possible, I try not to sound that way. I know that, it's, first off, I'm very old. I'm 40-ish almost. So it's like, giving yourself some time to understand what these founders are actually want from you, and not being so hungry. I mean, being hungry enough is good, but not being very, I would say, what is a deeper word for hungry? Like, not, you have to be satisfied at some point, right? So I think people like me because of that. It's not like, it's very chill. I'm very chill to work with. But at the same time, if we really need to have this conversation wherein I have to be really, direct, formal, or even savage with my comments, I could do it too. It's just that, we all have our unique skills that we have to develop, and people forget to develop their warm people skills. People forget that we are all handling, or we are all connecting with other people too. They're not just workers. They're not just bosses. These are all people too. So these are the things I believe that, make people want to work with me even though they don't know my skills. And that's very, only in Web3 will that happen. It won't happen in Web2 jobs, right? It will never happen there. But yeah, just because they like me, they hire me.
No, you bring up a lot of good points, and I think a lot of what it comes down to is being honest, right? Being honest and making sure that the fit is appropriate. And I think anything, whether that's desperation, whether that's whatever distracts from that honesty or making sure that you are the best fit for the job is not good. It's not positive, right? And using desperation as an example, it's like being hungry is important and positive, but if you're so hungry that you're starving and you're willing to take anything, that's not the best. That's not the best fit for the team. Just speak again, coming down to being honest. That's just simply not the best fit. And you unfortunately are now in a position where you're not going to find the best fit for you either. And that goes for anything. I mean, we talk about it in trading all the time, right? If you're trading with your last chip, your last dollar, you're not going to be as good of a trader as if you are comfortable, if you have a bag, if have a nice nest egg to know that you're allowed to make some mistakes. So I think that's really what it comes down to. And you also touched on the fact that who you are translates through everything you do, right? Whether that's a comment, whether that's a DM, whether that's who you associate with, whether that's which team you're working for, which teams you collaborate with, everything translates. And then I'll say one more thing to respond to what you said in terms of like the opportunity in Web3 is just ridiculous. I mean, that's why I love it here. I think it's amazing that people who are true to themselves, work hard, and are passionate about what they do are able to DM a founder, are able to create, a piece of work and drop it on the timeline and maybe get noticed that way, are able to show up to events, shake somebody's hand and say, hey, yo, this is who I am, what I do. These are individuals that can say I do it well. Give me a chance. I just think in any industry, if you work hard and are authentic, you will get places. But I think in Web3, the opportunity is exponential, which is what makes me so excited about this space. What are some of your favorite milestones you've accomplished since breaking into Web3?
Oh, that's tough. Okay, so you know, that okay, since we reminisced earlier, right? And when we first met, I was just lurking. So I started from zero. Like I already sounded like this. I could communicate well and whatnot. I started hosting spaces, not really hosting them, more on, I started contributing to spaces and doing stuff for free because I felt like I'm not an expert at this. But later on, I found out that, okay, later on, people started paying me for no reason or just giving me money. And I love it about Web3. they gave me, they gave me Ethereum, USDT, whatever that is, whatever I asked for, really, they're really nice people back then. It was the bull run, so everyone was giving free money to everyone. But definitely, whenever I show up, I would get something, right? And it caught me into thinking that maybe I should really pursue hosting, right? I think that step, that is a milestone for me, starting really. Many people in Web3 right now, even though, they're really young, they're very skilled, they always ask me about what are the things that I should do, what my secrets are, how do I close these deals, how come. They would be surprised sometimes. I'd be representing some platform or some protocol on Binance or Bybit AMAs, and of course I'll be using their account, right? And they would say, "Oh, it sounds like banana. It sounds like you. Even the laughter sounds like you." I was like, "Bro, that's me. That's me." But I cannot put that on on my portfolio yet because of the NDA, right? But they'd be surprised about that. And then even though I tell them everything that I do, every step that I make, even though I tell them to, you know what, just come with us, just join the space, just speak here. They wouldn't do it because they're always waiting for the perfect time. And I think that hinders a lot of the growth in Web3. And for me, that should already be a milestone because not every person has the courage to start. I realize that. Not every person has the ability to actually say, well, fuck it. Let's just go. Let's swing it. Let's just see what happens and, and see if it grows. If it doesn't work out, fine. If it does, well, there are other opportunities. So I feel like that is, for me, I'm really proud of that milestone. It is my favorite. I know that I've been partnered with a lot of huge protocols out there who would need, like, especially the Chinese communities that need, English speakers, but with an Asian, tone. Um, I'm proud I'm proud to be part of those stuff, but really I'm more proud of myself for being able to get up and start charging really. I'm really proud of that because imagine, Gambler, you were here during the bear cycle, right? Like right after all of the Wagmi, you were here, right? And remember that time there were barely anyone hiring people, and you were like, I remember you were like, I'm looking for $1,000. I'm telling everyone Gamblers rate at that time, $1,000 for a week, I think, as a community manager. I was like, no one's looking at this time. What? No one's looking for that role at that time because everyone was trying to work to get everyone else for free, right? But you know what? I was hosting spaces. I was hosting shit. I was hosting whatever. And, people still pay me even though they're not really making money off of the projects. And I think people, like, people didn't think of it that way. I was the only one making money in our group that time. So it was tough for me to watch people just sit on the sidelines and not, and watch me, listen to me, do these things and then, ask me over and over again what to do, what they should do when they don't even have the courage or the guts to start. So that's a milestone.
That's so real. No, that's so real. And I remember that. And it's what comes with the space, man. I mean, this space, it's volatile, and that's part of what's amazing about it. And that's part of why there's so opportunity here. But that's also why opportunities to work in the space also move in similar ways, right? In the bull market, everybody's got money. Everybody's trying to go to TGE or launch this or launch that. And, sometimes leverage you, sometimes maliciously, right? To kind of leverage your reputation to get that out. And then in the bear market, that is much less. But I would say, and I think you'd agree, that's why it's that much more important to be consistent. And well, first of all, get started. Like you said, get started somewhere and then be consistent and then make sure what we talked about earlier, that you don't get into a position where this is something you need to pay rent. You know what I'm saying? Like Web3 moves crazy. So until you're able to find stability, which is not the easiest thing to find, anywhere, but stability in general, you should not be putting all your eggs in the Web3 basket. And I think that's how, over time, you absolutely will find success. And just to tie it back to your original point of just getting started in Web3, it just opens so many doors with whatever it is. And again, that doesn't mean coming into Web3 and doing something totally different. Whatever you're doing in Web2 is absolutely, absolutely needed and necessary and valued here in Web3. Bring that energy, bring that passion and do it here. And you will be able to add value somewhere, but you can't ever, do that unless you get started. Jump on a Twitter space, attend an event, start liking, engaging with people's posts, start posting about stuff you like. We talked about last week how it doesn't have to be, and I think it actually shouldn't be, all crypto. People like to see humans, or to understand that there are humans on the other side of the PFP. What else do you dig? What are you into? How does it tie into your passion of crypto, right? So get started, keep going, understand the volatility, never put yourself in a position where you're absolutely starving for any crumbs so that you can be ready to contribute and add the most value when the absolute right opportunity comes along. I gave a few tips on getting started just now, but if for those listening right now, by the way, shout out Liz, shout out Iceman, shout out Louis, shout out Jonah, shout out Villa, shout out anybody listening to the recording, whether that's here on X, on Spotify, on YouTube. We appreciate you. We'll be rocking for another 10, 15 minutes or so. And if anybody wants to jump up, join the conversation, feel free to hit that request button in the lower left-hand corner. If you're busy or don't feel like it, you're chilling, no pressure. We love to have you either way. But for people listening, what are some ways to get started in Web3? And then maybe beyond that, taking that a step further, what are some ways to get a conversation started with a potential employer?
Okay, so I'm going to speak from my experience because it would be fake otherwise. Here's how I got started in Web3. Obviously I was so bored, right? I was so bored, so I started joining spaces, and I mentioned meeting Gambler there on spaces as well, right? That's actually how I started. I know that I already know what my skills are. I already know that I like talking to people and helping people. Surely everyone knows what they want to do or what they've been doing in Web 2 or outside of Web 3, right? Some people like drawing, some people like creating music, some people like writing, some people are just nerds. You have a place. I'm telling you, you want to create jokes, you have a place here. You want to create memes. Do you know how much they pay for meme artists? Do you have a place here? Um, it's just that, some people are kind of scared to admit that, right? Because sometimes people tend to take themselves too seriously whenever they're entering new industries, and I cannot really blame them. So I guess that's first. You already know what you want to do. It could be a passion. It could be, what did Gary Vee used to say? Like, make money out of your passion, something like that. It could be just a passion. You like collecting stuff and buying and selling stuff. It could be that, right? It could be hosting spaces or just be a contributor on spaces. People pay for that, bro. So, um, that's one thing. The next is I started conversations, early on because I like talking to people. So I literally jumped on spaces, but I don't like, I don't like to sound desperate, even at that time. So I was lucky because I'm a girl, and, and the spaces before were just jump packed with men, right? And I use that to my advantage. I'm sorry. Not sorry. I use that to my advantage. It's rare. Back then, it wasn't really that, common for women to speak on spaces where all men huddle. Because, I guess, because the jokes or because there are sometimes too technical terms. But I was lucky because I landed on a B-friend space. And everyone was just happy, that time. So, I use that to my advantage. I use my voice and my femininity to my advantage. But definitely I started to network there. Being a female, having this voice, being friendly, it just, placed me in the right, position, right? Just put myself in front of these opportunities. But that doesn't mean that I would stay there. So I started to, communicate with other people. I started talking to them, not more on talking to them, but more on, asking them questions, because many people, especially, these guys who are, very excited about what they're building, they really love to talk. They really love to talk about what they want to do, right? And I think, that's one of the missing things when we start to communicate with other people. When we start networking, even, IRL, people always talk about themselves. They always lift themselves up. I'm building this. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. This is how we make money, blah, blah, blah. But they forget to ask what you do. How did you get here? Whom do you know? Do you want to get connected? Do you want to try our stuff? Do you want to, is there something that you need? People forget that part. So I think one of the tips I would say in finding your opportunity and your potential employers, because in Web3 there are also a lot of people who say that they're hiring, or who pretend to be great at what they're not. But when you probe, when you ask questions, you will find out. And you don't have to shout out. You don't have to like um tell everyone about it. You don't have to announce every single step that you do in Web3. But people will see what you have. Like people would see what you have been doing. People would definitely find out what you've been building, who you've been connected with and whatnot. I am not the loudest voice in CT. Obviously, I'm not the most popular Filipino out there. I'm sure that we have friends that are more popular than us. But I know that when I DM Gambler, I'm gonna get a response. I know that when I DM some pillar from the communities, I'm gonna get a response. I know that when I ask for help, I'm gonna get a response. And when they do ask for help, when they DM me, when they need my help, it's the same way. I'm going to respond. If I'm gonna help them or not, I'm not sure, but there would be continuous communication. I think that those are like those are the things that you have to have in Web3 in order to be here in the long term. And we've seen a lot of builders, right? We've seen a lot of builders, founders, even spaces hosts who have been building for a while, and they built themselves up to, I don't know, to oblivion. But they would disappear after a while. And I think it's important to be consistent when you're in the space where you could easily be forgotten, really. So yeah,
So you heard it
not sure
here
if that
first,
helps.
folks. If you want to get started in Web3, you have to be a woman. Sorry to anyone else. If you're not a woman, you're
Sorry.
not gonna make it. No, but actually, I think that's really cool the way you phrased it, Banana, because there's a huge lesson in that of like lean into what makes you different, right? Like, obviously, there are absolutely disadvantages that come that you even listed that came with, being a woman in a space dominated, that is still to this day dominated by men. There's absolutely disadvantages to that. But there's also advantages, right? There's a flip side, and there's something which is the punchline is there's something that you bring to the table, and if you want it, you're gonna leverage it, and you're gonna find a way to leverage it and make it work for you. And it's either in you or it's not, and you're the kind of person that it's in you. So shout out to you for being that kind of person, for being an example to people listening and to people watching and people who follow you, who can see, whatever it is that makes you different. Bring that. Like, we cannot encourage you more to bring that here, because it's absolutely needed. If we're all thinking the same and acting the same and following the same chains and following the same projects, then that's not good for any of us. It's not good for the future of Web3. It's not good for the present, and it's not good for, in general. So shout out to you for doing that. Great points. We got Thomas up here. Shout out, Thomas. What's good, brother? Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, as always, thanks for the space. It's been a minute. We've just been super busy, but I always love a gambler space. Also, Banana, just like old saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. Do you? I mean, you got to get how you get it. So, but no, just to add really quick, how kind of quick I got started was just being a lurker, as bad as that sounds. Just hanging out in spaces, befriend spaces were the first ones. You can just kind of really go through there. You can kind of navigate. There's a little bit of mix of everything in a lot of ecosystems or communities. You have your degens, you have your collectors, you have your diamond hands, you have those. There's communities there. You just have to find what you're looking for. And if you dabble into something that that seems malicious or you don't like, don't go down that road. There's somebody else in that community that will lead you to somewhere else. Like there's like Banana said, ask for just ask. Everybody here is willing to help out somebody some way, whether it's financial if they can do it, or if it's a ref link or something like that. It's there. But yeah, that's just how it goes. And be a reply guy. That's how I got where I'm at. But be smart about it. Don't just be, put a couple words. Actually put a little bit of thought, a little bit of knowledge to your replies. Go into these big rooms with Bored Apes, Pudgy Penguins, all these crazy PFPs. Like they see you, trust me. Like they see those types of people, and those are the things I've learned over the years and being in this space and being around good people. And just yeah, and if you're here, follow everybody here. I mean, if anything, and as also as always, if I can help, I'm here, man. But yeah, thanks for the time always, man. I know you gotta wrap up here soon, but I appreciate the space, bro.
Thomas, you're a legend, bro. Always got time, always got room for you. You're a true legend in this community. And again, you definitely supported what Banana just touched on, which I actually forgot to touch on. Was like, there's a lot more people in this space that have influence than your basic maybe the influencers that come to mind when you think of an influencer. And what I mean by that is people like Banana. I mean, and I can say that for myself too, and Thomas, I think you can feel this as well. Is like, it means the world in value when you can reach out to somebody and actually get a response. And that's what I mean when I say there's the network of influence in this space is so much greater than the same 20 PFPs you see on those drama spaces every day. I won't call any out. And by the way, shout out to them too, because we all got a brand, man, and we've all done it however we do it, but it goes so much deeper than the latest main character or the latest 10 people on a spaces panel or, the latest top 100 KOLs that whatever project decides to drop a KOL list to make the timeline go crazy. Like, and once you realize that, and you start reaching out to people and you get the replies and you're like, wow, I got a reply. Like, you're like, wow, I can actually make things move. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to be that person on stage all the time. I don't need to be this KOL with 20K followers and 100 likes. Like, that is a lot more vanity than you think. And once you realize that, you're like, wow, actually, would I rather have those 100 likes or would I rather get a reply from Banana? Honestly, I would rather get a reply from Banana. So, and then, it's how you use it, right? Maybe somebody knows how to leverage those 100 likes better than I do, and I know how to leverage relationships in a mutually beneficial way. So that works for me. Again, no judgment. These are all just examples. But we touched a little bit on like risks associated with this space. Banana, what are some things that people should look out for and be wary of when it comes to looking for work and looking for opportunity in Web3?
Okay, we touched on earlier about being hungry and not to be starved by all of these things. I think being self-aware is really important in Web3. There are so many opportunities out there. And in the Philippines, I'm gonna tell you, in the Philippines, we have, many people are used to a certain rate, right? A certain rate for their jobs. But in Web3, Web3 opened up a lot of doors and it leveled the field. So now we're getting opportunities at almost the same level as the global players in the field, right? And I think and no, it's not that I think. I've seen this happen so many times in my communities wherein they would get DMs from a staff of any, name it, gold colored platforms, a gold check platform, sorry. And it would ruin the whole, not just the reputation, but their whole PC, because it's not that they are offering an opportunity of a lifetime. They are offering something that is really simple. It's just that people are, I wouldn't say lazy. I guess they're too starved. They were starving for opportunities that they forget to check themselves. They forget to actually do some research on whoever was looking for an opportunity and whatnot. And they say yes to stuff. And that's how people in one of my communities got drained, last week. So that's one thing. Another thing is that I think you have, well, I mean, realistically speaking, we are all not, how will I say this? Without getting canceled, without Gambler getting canceled. Uh, we're, I know that a lot of us have had, good intentions, okay? But not, I mean, there are stuff that we let slide. There are things that we let slide, right? Sometimes it's just, it's part of the game. Like, like Thomas has mentioned earlier, don't hate the player, hate the game. It's part of the game, right? But we have to really be, aware of what we are getting into, because at the end of the day, it's still gonna be our name. How bad can you, I mean, how good are you with FUD? Can you handle that? For example, if I launch something on Pump Fun right now, uh, and I didn't promise anyone anything, and it suddenly fell, what would that say to my name, right? And am I ready to handle that? I think many of us are too immature when it comes to these things. There are so many other opportunities out there. Maybe they're not as huge as what we were given, but it's somewhere that it's something that you can start with. And also definitely be careful of links of AI. Of all of these other technology. They're amazing technology, but at the same time, it's so easy to fool people nowadays, right? It's so easy to fool people nowadays. For such a technologically advanced space, we have so much, so many drains, so many scams happening here. And you gotta wonder what is wrong with this space. It's because we're degenerates. That's why we don't do the research. A lot of us don't. So it's really all our fault, right? And also, as a woman in this space, I know I said I take advantage. I mean, I flip the narrative to my advantage. Okay, that's a better term. I flip the narrative to my advantage. In order, because I don't see it as, I don't want to see it as a discrimination against me. I want to see it as, I want to see that as an opportunity for me. But we still have to be careful when dealing with other people, especially on those IRL meetups. I've been told about a lot of these horror stories on those IRL meetups, not just women, of course, but men too. But obviously the large number of victims were women. So we have to be really careful what we put out there. Careful of posting your wins. I don't think Gambler ever posted any of his wins. I think he's rich enough to like pay everyone in the room right now. But honestly, just don't do that, right? Because it's not just the evil eye. You're making yourself a target. You're putting a target on yourself. And is that really good? Is that something that you can handle? It's really up to you. But definitely, be careful of what you share and what you are agreeing to, right? Oh, another thing. If you're going to agree to like run rugs or whatever, please, please be careful. Please be careful. I have a friend. Well, I think he's our common friend. He's an influencer and all that. I mean, he's technically he's a good person, right? He shares opportunities. But the problem was he wasn't aware that his name, like he's been hosting spaces in 2023, I think. And the platform was huge. It was massive, right? And he was getting, he suddenly became a CEO of that. And unfortunately, they rugged. And he wasn't aware that that was their plan. So, like, be careful of be careful with whatever you say yes to. Because even though some people here have the right titles, the right Web2 titles, like C-level titles, right? You don't really know what they're up to. A lot of them have to go through, a lot of them, are just, no, well, I wouldn't say a lot of them, wait. Some of them are just here to extract money and use your name, use your reputation for whatever that is. And, that's why it's tough, right? It's tough to actually trust. Do not trust. Verify. So yeah, that's all I could think of right now.
Yeah, it's definitely that I'm humble and careful that I never post wins. It's definitely not that I'm a bad trader and that I lose money often. It's definitely not that. No, but great points, Banana. Be careful. Don't trust verify. Watch out for links in the DMs. And again, it ties back to what we started this whole conversation with, right? Of like, don't be so hungry that you're starving, because you're going to move too fast and then you're going to accept the wrong thing. You're going to click the wrong thing. And that comes from you just being too hungry to where the point that you're starving. And that's not good for anyone, even if it is a legitimate opportunity on the other end of that DM. Again, everything translates, and you don't want to be in a position where you're starving. You want to be in a position where you're healthy and in the best shape possible to add as much value to that team as possible. And then, of course, just be selective, right? Be selective. Make sure it's a good fit, not just for them, but for you. What are your needs? What are your wants? How do you want to represent yourself? Especially if we're talking about community roles, which Banana touched on. I think it's really easy to take advantage of individuals in community oriented roles, because we look out. The best thing for a project that plans to run is to find somebody like Banana to start talking on spaces, to start telling all their people about it, because Banana has that beautiful reputation. And then they can hide behind Banana and be like, well, Banana said we're cool. Everybody else is like, oh, Banana said they're cool. And then they're not cool anymore, and then everybody's like, well, Banana, what happened? And you can only do that so many times before people are like, well, okay, there's a mistake, and then there's just plain not doing your due diligence, right? And then you have to take accountability somewhere on that line. And all of your followers, all of your audience, all of your stakeholders, all the people that want to see you win are going to make that decision at a different point. Some people it's one and done. Some people it's two. And so you got to be control of your reputation, of how you present yourself and which teams you work for. And you got to take accountability for that. That comes with the space. We are almost out of time, but I want to touch on our theme of the week, which is DM etiquette, which is super timely. Every single week we try to do a theme of the week, which touches on one specific aspect of getting hired and being successful. This week it's DM etiquette, and super timely because I didn't know Banana was going to tweet this, but she actually dropped a tweet yesterday, actually a couple days ago, on a cold DM tip. She said, you won't close deals with "I have an offer you can't refuse." You're not the Godfather. You're just another spammer in the inbox. She says she manages multiple business accounts, and even in Web3, it's cringe to receive this from anybody. So before we get out of here, Banana, can you give us some do's and don'ts of interacting in the DMs?
Okay. I'm sorry because I received that a while ago. First off, be human first. Be human first. Okay, you're talking with another person, not a bot. Do not send a wall of text or a copy paste message. Say hi, hello. If I were to, here's how I would do it. Here's actually how I've been doing it for the past few years. Whenever I need to whenever I need to tempt someone into getting in on my spaces and talk about controversial stuff, uh, I would message them with a cold and warm message or warm words. Something like, "Hey gambler, how have you been? I've been a fan of Couple Joe. I love what you do, and I'd like to learn from you." So love is warm word. Like is a bit cold, right? No, not like. Learn is cold. So when we say warm, it means you're being human. When we say cold, it means you're being like robotic or a bit formal. When you mix them, it doesn't sound as cringy anymore. Uh, but at the same time, it makes you sound a little bit more interested in what the other people is doing. Make sure to know actually what they are doing because Because if you just click on our account and then click on Grok, you will just see the recent posts, right? You will just see the recent Grok analysis of our accounts. You might want to like check out what they've been tweeting about, what they're interested in, and make sure that these are like short lines. I would say what's easy on the eyes is 3 lines maximum. 3 lines, and then they would read it. If it's like more than 3 lines, you better know that person. Otherwise, that person, that person would block you, right, Jonah? So it's easy to digest, easier to digest. And the other thing is make it easy for the other person to say yes. Do not ask vague stuff like, are you hiring? Do you need mods? do you need followers? Please don't ask that. Instead, what would be better is to ask for a quick call, or if you can send a portfolio. You're not close enough. You remember, you're not close enough to have this kind of jokes with people unless you've had this kind of conversation in spaces, perhaps. Then you can make some sort of a joke. But if it's really a cold DM, it has to be a little bit, try to keep some distance. Do not be desperate. Do not be desperate, but be direct, right? In Web3, um, there are a lot of employers that are young, right? Like Gambler is young, right? There are a lot of people who are holding positions that are actually in their early 20s or late 20s. So it definitely is about vibe check, right? So if your message feels too needy, it will definitely get ignored. If you keep on DMing someone, asking them how they are, and not like every time you see them, how are you? How are you? How are you? What the fuck are you doing here? It's not gonna get the response that you want. It doesn't feel aligned. It will not get answered. Um, but basically at the end of the day, your DM is the first impression of your reputation, right? It's your reputation. It's your handshake. It's the equivalent of your handshake in IRL. So even before you join my cult, you have to be versed in what we do, or at least know what I stand for and what I'm going against. It's just that some people forget, and some people forget this because they're too nervous, or they're starving, or they're not really that self-aware. So that's how I would I would go about it.
Good points, Banana. Thomas, I saw your hand go up. What would you like to add?
It's crazy that Banana was just talking about the DMs and stuff and how they word things with cold and warm words. Because I got that exact DM literally like a couple times, like this last week, but it wasn't with cold and warm words. It was just, they used the word like a lot. They like, how's your trading going? Like things like that. If you get messages like that, like, how's your journey in Web3 going? Like really, bro, like you got to try harder, man. Cause it's like, I know a lot of people like to eat, and I can contest to this in Gambler. He's helped me out before, but like I've had things come across my DMs that sound too good to be true. Like, especially if you're done, I've called Gambler, I've called each other, like, he's explained it to me, and with his, knowledge of being in the space, again, reaching out to somebody in a community that has that knowledge, talked me through it, and it was too good to be true. So it was just, it's crazy to make sure that your DMs are the most important. And if you are sending DMs with information or something, that you want somebody to be aware of, or alpha, if you want to call it, to more of the KOL people, if you want to call it like that, make it short and simple. Like, don't send no links, but just kind of give a brief summary of what you're doing. And don't intend for a super fast response. That's a lot of the things with DMs. It's be patient. Be very patient with DMs, because like they'll eventually get to you. They'll eventually see you, check you Sorry, I had a call, but yeah, in all, I'm gonna have to take this call real quick. But yes, Banana, thank you for all the information because there's a lot of other things that have snipped through my DMs that I wasn't aware, but I will be using some of the stuff that you have. And Gambler, I appreciate you again as always, holding space and be safe. And if anybody needs anything, my DMs are always open.
Yeah, unless you're a bot or doing any of the don'ts that Banana just said. Thomas, you're the man. Thanks for jumping up. That is just about our time, ladies and gentlemen. But Banana, one more time, I'm going to throw it back to you. Under 30 seconds for those listening. What is your advice to folks who are looking to break into working in Web3 or advancing their Web3 careers?
Well, first of all, thank you. And I would say that start with what you want to do, whatever that passion is. Just start. There's no one is gonna stop you. If you create an account right now and you start posting things about the stuff that you want to do, the stuff that you're interested in, people will definitely be able to see that, right? And it's also your history in CT, in Web3. We will see what you have been doing. We will see, we will see what you have been doing in Web3. And, also find a community, find your tribe. I was lucky enough to be able to meet Jonah and Gambler on those gratitude spaces, Web3, V-Friend spaces, because those are the spaces that matter to me. Entrepreneurship and gratitude, right? And talking with young people. Definitely you will be able to find your tribe if you do not force yourself into what community into whatever community you see. It has to be more intentional and try to be more self-aware with what you can do and what you cannot do. Definitely be hungry but do not starve.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't hit that follow button for Banana yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, but this is a friendly reminder to do so. If you think she's giving you insight in these last 50 minutes, 60 minutes, she's full of more insight just like that regularly on her page. She works with some of the coolest teams in the space, so make sure to show her love. Also, shout out Jonah, shout out Obi-Wan who just jumped in the final seconds. Shout out to Thomas for jumping up here. Shout out to all the guests who jumped in and listened live. Anyone who's listening to the recording, whether it's here on X, YouTube, or Spotify. Of course, shout out to Web3 Job Ops, which powers these spaces. If you're looking to get started, a great way to do that is to click that Telegram link. I know we don't like links, but I promise it's good. Click that Telegram link in the Web3 Job Ops bio. There's regularly jobs popping up that are junior level, mid level, and senior level. And if you see anything in there, reach out to me, see how we can get you connected. Banana, thank you so much one more time for rocking with us. It's been a great time, as it always is when I get to share space with you. And wishing you the best. As always, let me know if I can be of any support to you, to anyone listening. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, that has been our show. We appreciate you. We are rooting for you. And we will see you soon. Take care.